There's a global pandemic going on, so we're all kind of just stuck inside looking for something to do. What if I told you that there was something productive, rewarding, and fun that we could do from the comfort of our own home? You guessed it, computer programming. Now, I'm completely self-aware on how nerdy and geeky that sounds, but hear me out. People seem to be really intimidated by the idea of a computer, and they come up with a bunch of reasons on why they personally can't learn how to program. It might be that coding looks too hard, it looks too complicated, you don't think you're smart enough, or whatever the reason might be. So let me explain to you why none of that's true. Coding is an activity that everybody can enjoy. It's not just for the big brain techs of the world. Let's go ahead and debunk some of these myths as to why you can't learn to program, and I'll show you how coding can make a great hobby, or even career. The first myth: my computer is too old, or I don't have the right hardware or tools that I need to code. If you're watching this video right now, it means that you have access to A, computer, and B, the internet. Good news for you is that's all you need to code. You don't need a supercomputer and you don't need to worry about building one. That cheap laptop that you bought at Walmart should work just fine, especially when you're starting out as a beginner. You don't need some fancy office setup. In fact, you can code anywhere, even outside if you wanted to. Heck, there's even apps that you can code from your phone, so those of you on mobile aren't left out either. And the best part, you don't even need money. Any software you'll need is usually completely free. And on top of that, you'll have access to the greatest teacher you could ever have. Stick around and I'll explain more on that later. Myth 2. Coding looks way too hard and I'm just not smart enough to do it. Okay, look, I get it. If you don't know much about coding, it can look really scary, especially with the way the media portrays it. So let's discuss what coding actually is so you can see it's actually a lot simpler than it looks. As smart as people like to say computers are, they don't actually have brains. They're just these big fancy boxes with a bunch of wires in them that'll do whatever we tell them. They also speak their own special language called binary, which comes down to just two numbers, 0 and 1. Using just zeros and ones, a computer can pretty much do anything we could ever want. But we as humans don't speak in zeros and ones. We like to use language and words. So when we code, we use a programming language, which is then able to take our commands and translate it into something the computer can understand. So coding's kind of like your high school Spanish class. There's a couple words you gotta memorize, but once you know them and know when to use them, you'll be able to talk with the computer and get it to do what you want. So if that's all coding is, memorize a couple instructions and know when to use them, then why does it get the reputation of being so hard? Well, that's because when you're programming, you're not just coding. You're doing a little thing that's known as problem solving. And this is where things get a little trickier. When people say coding is hard, what they really mean to say is problem solving is hard. So why exactly is problem solving so difficult? Well, when we problem solve, we have to dig really deep and use a special part of our brain that isn't utilized very often. Most of us aren't out there playing logic games or solving riddles, so the most problem solving we get exposed to on a given day is figuring out what to watch on Netflix. It's kind of like writing. Using a pencil isn't that hard, most people figure it out by first grade. But if you want to write like a whole book, that's going to require a little more brain work. So it's not that you're too dumb to code. It's just that you're now training a more analytical part of your brain that you haven't had to use all that often. It's a skill you need to build up like anything else. And I guess here's where my pitch comes in. Learning to code is a fun and rewarding way to enhance your problem solving skills. You'll be better at A, identifying the problem that you need to solve, and B, using whatever resources you have to solve that problem. Most of the time your solution will just be a Google search away. I bet you even the people at Google are Googling how to do their job. But for a lot of people, it's pretty tough to break down a problem and figure out what's wrong, let alone find a solution. By learning to program, this will become second nature to you. Myth number 3, computers and programming are irrelevant and I'll never use them. In the year 2020, just about everything involves a computer in some way. Unless you're a caveman, saying computers are irrelevant to you is just not true. We stream videos, run businesses, and even talk to each other all from a computer. No matter who you are or what field you're in, someone's in the background coding something. So this means that learning to program will either enhance your life or just open up new opportunities altogether. Do you work a really boring office job? Why not write a script that will automate the job for you? You can finish what would take you months in maybe a couple days. Are you a small business owner? Why not build a small website where you can sell your products or show off your work? Do you have dreams of becoming a professional athlete? Well, your odds in that are about as good as my videos going viral. But programming as a sports analyst? Well, your odds are a little better. Or why not just make a sports game and put yourself in it? You'll be able to do and make some really cool stuff, and it doesn't even have to be that ambitious. Even a simple project like a tic-tac-toe game is something you can proudly say you built yourself, and you can show it off to all your friends. And remember that little thing called problem solving? Did I mention how marketable that is? Check any job listing site and I guarantee problem solving is going to be listed as one of the desired traits. Knowing your way around a computer is just a generally great asset nowadays. Knowing to code will only enhance your skill set, so why not embrace the future? Myth 4, math sucks. Alright, so I'm not gonna lie to you. You are gonna need to know some basic math to code. But don't let that scare you off, it's not as bad as it sounds. First off, a computer is a big giant calculator, so you're never really gonna have to compute anything yourself. And no one's gonna take away any points if you forget a minus sign. Speaking of which, think back to your high school math class. A lot of people hated it and fell asleep. And as a big nerd who loves math, I honestly understand why. It's usually taught in a super abstract way, making it hard to make the connection between math and the real world. Like sure, x equals 7, but 7 what exactly? And what the heck is a tangent? Programming, on the other hand, walks a fine line between being abstract, but also concrete. That's a lot of big words, so what do I mean by that? What I mean is that although you might have to think outside the box a little bit, you'll still get tangible feedback. Did you write a script to print hello world to the screen? Well, if that's what you see, then you know you did it right. If you see something else, then you can go back into your program and figure out what you did wrong. Playing with your code is kind of like tinkering with Legos. You can break it, fix it, switch pieces around to see what they might look like, and just generally play around with it to figure out how it works. So those of you who are good with your hands may feel surprisingly at home with coding. And look, if all you want to do is make a simple website where you can post pictures of your dog, I promise you're not going to need any calculus to do it. So don't let that idea scare you. Myth 5, I didn't go to college or study computers. Let's take a look at this study done by the people over at Stack Overflow. In it, we can see that 56% of developers reported not having a computer science degree or anything in a related field. We can see in the bar chart that most of these developers reported either teaching themselves or learning on the job. And let's talk about a computer science degree real quick. I'm someone who's taken a fair amount of courses in CS, and I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. In a computer science degree, you don't actually learn that much programming. In a lecture, they might explain why things work the way they do or some high-level concepts, but you're rarely ever gonna learn how to code. In reality, Google's gonna be the one teaching you Python, not your professor. See, the thing about coding is it's not something you can really learn from a PowerPoint. It's something you have to actively try, fail at, and then learn from your mistakes. It's kind of like learning to ride a skateboard, except when they fail, it hurts a lot more. Earlier I had mentioned that you had access to the greatest teacher ever, but the truth is you've been staring at it the whole time. YouTube is an absolutely amazing place to learn coding. There's dozens of awesome tutorials out there where someone will walk you step by step and explain what's going on. I'll link some of my favorites down in the description, and if you like hearing my voice, maybe you could check out some of my tutorials. Hopefully I was able to show you that coding isn't some science voodoo. I truly believe that anyone who's willing to put in the time and effort can make some really cool stuff. So if I've sold you on coding and you want to know where to start, you're probably wondering which language you should learn. So let's address this. Truth be told, they're all really similar, and once you know one, you kind of know them all, but I'm just going to recommend Python. It's pretty easy to learn, in high demand right now, and also really versatile. So no matter what project you want to tackle, Python can probably do it. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. My original plan was to film the whole video with me in front of the camera, but then this happened, so I had to improvise a little bit. If you've been inspired to start your programming journey, let me know what kind of things you want to make in the comments. Or if you already code, let me know down below how you got into it. Hope you all enjoyed the video and take care.